Thank you first and foremost for joining on time, and good evening to you all. So we are towards the end of February now, so we've got about 5 months left before the 11 plus exams kick in for this batch. So it's a good time for us to have this conversation. There are a few things that we would like to walk you through in terms of what's going to happen between now and end of August. And then we also would like to say some of the key dates and the milestones that you need to keep in mind, and some of the other activities we would be doing in the coming weeks and months. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them on the chat, and I will pick all the questions at the end. So you don't need to wait till the end to ask questions. You can keep posting them, and we will pick up the questions towards the end. Okay, let's make a start. I've got a few slides to run you through, so just to structure the conversation a bit better. So what we're going to do today is essentially give you a very high-level overview of the timeline and what as I said, what we're going to do between now and the beginning of September. We'll also talk you through at a high level what you need to consider when you're making selecting your schools, the schools that you want to apply for, and what exam formats and what other things you need to take into account when you do that. We will also tell you what our plan is in terms of how would we structure ourselves going forward to help your child progress and achieve the success they deserve. I'll also kind of highlight quickly some of the things that you could do to help your child and help us, I think, get better output out of your child. And then, as I said, there are a few next steps that I want to talk you to, and then we'll do that. Then I'll pick up any questions that you may ask as we go along. Okay, so obviously, as I said, we are at the 17th, 18th of February, so February is almost done. So kind of segregated the timeline kind of into rough blocks like that. So where we are right now, we're working through towards the end of all the syllabus. We're kind of revising both the topics. And you already know we have kind of done the third mock test today. The results are not yet out. But we are kind of towards the end of February where we should have the foundation of all the content done and dusted. And of course, there will still be some topics, some parts of the syllabus that we would kind of go through again and again until students become comfortable answering questions around those topics. So what we're going to do between March and May is to move towards more exam-focused content. So what that means is we're going to structure the discussions on the online lessons to suit the format and the exam that your child's going to take. I'm going to come back to this bit in a minute because I would like to understand what schools you would like to go for, and on the back of that we can work out what child need what kind of course format, if you like. We'll continue to do the selective topic revision, especially when we do tests, whether it is topic test or the mock test. We're going to highlight the areas where children didn't do well or they could have done better, and we're going to do kind of revise those topics, and then continue to do test revise in a cyclical nature. This is for you guys to keep in mind. Typically, most of the schools open registration for the exams in May, and they close in June. You don't need to worry too much because we will continuously remind you as and when the schools kind of open up for registration. We'll tell you when the deadline is. What I suggest you do is put that into your calendars and do it at the earliest possibility. Don't leave it till late. Some people confuse this with applying for schools. It's not. This is just your intention at this stage to say you want your child to take the exams. And you don't need to just do one exam. You can do multiple exams. We'll talk you through that as well. So typically May and June is when most schools open up for registration. June and July, we will continue with your child will be given specific practice back, because you would have by then told us what schools your child will be applying for or taking the exams off. So essentially, all the focus would be on practicing for those exams. We'll bring past papers to practice with, We'll have both online mock exams as we are doing currently, but also we will have the in-person mock exams. Historically, we've done our in-person mock exams in Ilford. This year, we may kind of look at Ilford and another location. But again, we will tell you what those locations and venues are nearer the time. But yeah, you will have in-person mock exams as well. August is where you should discount August. Okay, don't leave anything to August. August is literally just iron out any last minute glitches that we find, any kind of gaps that we find, just close them off and just get your child ready for the exam. September is when the exams start. And most kids actually do at least 3 or 4 exams, so that will take the best part of September to get through. Bear in mind, some schools will also have a second stage exams, so that will also kind of go towards the end of September or beginning of October. You should have all the results back in September, and you will make a formal application to a secondary school place by end of October. Again, we'll walk you through all the timeline and we'll guide you through that. You can name up to 5 or 6, depending on which council or which area you live in. Again, so we can talk through that and how you order them, how do you rank your preferences nearer the time. So that's a kind of a very high level view of what are the key stages that we would be going through between now and September. Now, obviously, the key question that you need to start thinking, if you are already not doing it, I know some of the parents have called us and have discussed this in sufficient detail. But if you haven't thought about this already, I think this is the time you start doing that. You need to start thinking about what schools you want to apply for, right? And then on the back of that, we will work out what coaching, what training your child would need. The key thing here, I would say, is that don't look at schools, don't look at the rankings of a school, and then say, no, I want my child to end up in the top grammar school in the country. And it's not a bad thing. It's good to have the ambition, but I think it's not just about what the school is good at or where the school is ranked in terms of the league table, but it's more about looking at your child. So look for a school that suits your child and not the other way around. Okay, so, and I can't stress enough on that point, because it's not just a statistical or a mathematical analysis that you need to do here. You need to put both your heart and mind before you come up with the right answer for this question. So by all means, look at the academic reputation and the performance of the schools. And when you look at their performance, don't just look at how kids have done in GCSEs or A levels. Go beyond that, and I'll explain what I mean by that one. But obviously, the easiest way to look at what school should I apply is possibly to pull up a ranked list of some type, which will rank schools in England based on how children perform in the exams, right? So it's purely academic performance. That is one of the ways you can do. But as I said, it's not about what school, it's about your child. It's about your child being happy, your child developing to be the mature person, a happy individual, and a well-rounded individual. So you just need to focus not just on academic, but beyond that. So look at what specialization they offer, what curriculum they offer. Don't assume all schools offer you the same GCSEs and A levels. Some schools don't offer, some of the specializations you need. Even the top schools in the country, for example, if you take Queen Elizabeth QE Boys, they don't, for example, offer computer science as a subject or as a specialization. So you need to look at, not just the academic ranking of the school, but also look at what subjects they offer. And, if your child genuinely need that specialization, depending on where you want your child to end up, right? And what kind of bachelor's degree you want your child to do. This is also very important. As I said, the happiness and the well-being of the child is very important. And especially you are talking about children who are going to be between 11, 12, and all the way till 17, 18, they're going to be in that place. So that's what I call the formative years of a child. that kind of builds their personality. It makes the person they would be for the foreseeable future. So it is important that you give them not just the academic background, but also everything else they need. Whether it's leadership, whether it's being tech savvy, or whatever specialization they want to do, whatever interest outside of the academic curriculum they have. How do you kind of nourish that? How do you encourage them? It's equally important. So look at what kind of clubs, for example, what additional facilities they make available to their students. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is look at the culture of the school and what kind of environment they have. Also take into account what support students get because they're going to be teenagers. We've all been teenagers at some point, and the ups and downs of being a teenager. So you need to make sure that if you ask the school to explain what pastoral care they have, what support they provide their students, most schools will open up and they will talk you through. And most schools have this information on their website too. And this is something very relevant to everybody. So think about the location of the school and how realistic is it for your child to commute, for example, and also how realistic as an alternative for you to lift and shift your base and move nearer to the school. Don't underestimate that one. You may think it's easy for a child to commute for 40-50 minutes each way on a school bus. It may not be. Depends on the child and on the path and the route they take. So take that into account. Of course, you need to look at any siblings, any younger, older children you may have, and how would it affect them. And of course, your work and your career, your commute to your workplace, and take that into account. Now, the other important consideration for you is to not just focus on what kids do at GCSE and A levels. Ask the school or look at the school's website and check where the students end up, what universities they go to. Now, that is a very important measure of how well-rounded their education is. The top universities, Oxford, Cambridge, for example, or the Imperials College or London School of Economics, for example, they don't look just at how good a child is in terms of their academic achievements, A levels or GCSEs, because majority of the kids who apply to these top universities, they typically have 3 A stars or even 4 A stars. So how do you distinguish between those children? So you typically have probably 1 in 20 kids who apply get through to these universities. So and all the 20 kids I'm talking about who apply to these places are similar in terms of academic. They all have A stars. They all have done really well in GCSEs. So that's where the other things you do and what support the school give your child comes into play. So typically schools have a careers and an advisory unit who kind of walk them through, give them things that will stand them out when they apply to universities, not just academically but outside of the academics. So it's a good measure for you to kind of if you don't have that information on school's website, you can ask the school, check how many of the students are ending up in top universities like Oxford, Cambridge, LSE, or Imperial and universities like that. If you know any current farmer students and parents, it's worth speaking because it's one thing what the website says, it's another thing what the league table says, but it's about how the kids feel being in that environment. And of course, anything you hear from people, take it with a pinch of salt, apply your own filtering as to what angle, what perspective they are coming from. And make sure you visit the school. All schools will have an open day. Some schools ask you to register upfront if you're going to take that opportunity. Some schools will have an open day where you can just walk in between the times they mention. And depend when you tell us that these are the schools you want to apply, we will make a note and we'll let you know when those open days are and when you need to book by if needed. So it's always worth visiting the school with your child, and there are obvious benefits when your child sees the school and other children there, and it kind of also motivates them towards certain schools. Key thing, if you have to take one thing out of this slide and what I've been rambling on for the last 7-8 minutes, is always put your child at the center of that question. It's not about picking the best school. It's about picking the best school for your kid. It's about picking a school that works for your child. And I can't emphasize that enough. And also getting into a grammar school, which is academically intensive, especially some of the super selective schools. They are very intensive. It's one thing to get through into getting a place in a school, but it's another thing to kind of cope up with the rigors, the day-to-day expectations of you, where you have all the 180 children, for example, all kind of top performers. Okay, and your kid currently may be a top performer in the school they are in, but they find themselves in a school where all the 100 odd kids that have been selected are kind of super performers, and especially that it's a good thing in a way that it brings that positive competitiveness, and that's the reality of the world, right? So it's a competitive world, but equally at that age, do you want them to kind of go through that? You need to look at your child, their attitude, and their approach to certain problems. Think about that and see um, whether that kind of super selective grammar school is your child's cup of tea or not. And again, you are best placed to judge this for your child. Now, based on the schools that you select, obviously, the exam formats will vary. A majority of the schools kind of currently opt for GL assessment, and kids have been practicing this format for a while. Last 2 mock exams we did were for GL assessments, right? So a large number of counties and schools use GL assessment. CEM was decommissioned for most schools last year as a format. It's only online, only private schools use it now, independent schools. CSSE is another format that we will be kind of preparing children for. This is all these schools, grammar schools in Essex. So that's another format. FSCE is for county, just for county girls. We have certain, for example, following selective eligibility test, and children did a test mock exam today in this one. And of course, there are school specific and county specific exam formats that we will go through in the coming weeks with you and your children. So what I suggest you do is, start researching. Look at what schools you should be applying for. Is it logistically viable? Take into account your situation, your other children, and think about catchment areas. I mean, most grammar schools still do have catchment areas, and they prefer kids who live closer to the school than are further away from the school. Some schools obviously don't have catchment. If you take QE Barnet, for example, they have no catchment whatsoever, but majority of the other school will have a catchment area of some sort. So when you're going through the schools, also look at what catchment areas are applicable for those schools. And keep in mind the key dates once you pick the schools, and when you need to register, when are the open days as well. And on our website, you have a how to prepare section on the main page. This is on Progress Academy website, not my Progress Academy portal where kids do the homework. It's the website, which is Progress Academy. And there, if you go in there, you can type in the name of the school or the county or the region or the location, and you get a school, a short list of school. And at a high level, it tells you, what kind of rank it has academically, how many places are open, and whether it's a boys' school or a girls' grammar or a combined grammar, whatever. And if you click on read more, it gives you more information about the exam format, and how you can prepare for the schools. So use that one, but obviously don't take that as the gospel truth. Schools tend to change the exam format. Schools tend to change their catchment area. You will also find against each school a link back to the school's website. So always check with the school's website for the most accurate information on catchment and admission criteria. But it's a good place because you have all the schools listed in England, and you can filter through, you can search, and you can drill down and find more details against each school. Okay, so we talked about at a high level what the timeline is and what you need to do next in terms of researching your schools. So the online lessons will continue, right? But there's going to be a change. Beginning of March, your children will be asked to attend 4 lessons a week, not 2. So currently they attend a weekend lesson and a weekday lesson. And we're going to ask them to double that up. But don't worry, you're not going to pay anything extra. We're doing it just to make sure that we get as much time with the kids as possible, and your fee won't change. You will continue to pay whatever your current arrangement is. This is purely to make sure we kind of intensify the time we give your children, and make sure we start to kind of iron out any gaps that we find as we go along. And in terms of what those timings are, it's going to double up, as in, so Saturday and Sunday, 9 o'clock for this group. That will be the 2 weekend sessions, and weekday session will be Tuesday, 7 o'clock, and Wednesday, 5:30. Don't need to make a note. We'll send a WhatsApp message and an email in a week's time, confirming when we're going to switch to 4 sessions a week. Okay, weekly homework will continue. Now, I know majority of the students, about 85%, 86% of the students are very good with homework. You always find a small minority who don't do the homework regularly. They don't complete, right? The content of the homework from beginning of March is going to be significantly tailored for the exams, right? So it will have past exam papers, mock exam papers, and topic-specific content, which is again kind of driven from the exam perspective. I can't tell you how important it is for your child to finish for their homework. Okay, so if they're not in a habit of finishing the homework, make sure they do that. This is one big favor you will be doing your kids. Okay, equally, if your child is not somebody who's going to kind of organize themselves and spend the necessary time a day regularly, spend 30 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour, whatever it takes a day for them to do. We can talk about it and how you can help them also. And there will be, I'll talk about the book work in a minute. I'll come back to it as part of another. So we will kind of run boot camps and workshops during half terms and holiday periods. And we're not going to invite all the kids, especially the boot camps will be for kids who need help, essentially. Okay, and anyway, so all the extra sessions, extra workshops, boot camps are free to Progress Academy students, so you don't need to worry about that. And it will be on an invitation basis only, where we think kids would benefit from having that lesson. The revisions and the tests will continue for the foreseeable future. And of course, mock exams become more regular as we kind of go going towards September. And as I said, from June, your kid will also be given practice banks based on what exams they will be doing. And why such, as you see, the homework is going to increase, the number of lessons is going to increase. On top, you will have additional book works, and your child may be invited for workshops and boot camps. The number of frequency of mock exams will increase. As you can see, as we go towards July, August, we will be at the peak of these activities. Now, what can you do, right? And of course, majority of the parents speak to us regularly, and they share what they're doing. They also ask, what else they could do, which is a good sign. One thing I'll tell you is this is not going to work unless it's a partnership between you, your child, first and foremost. And you need to make sure you set the right environment, right aspiration to your child. So, we are there to help in any ways that we can. But first and foremost, put a consistent study routine. Okay, don't be kind of do the work, let your kid do the ad hoc manner, right? The work. Or ask them to come up with a regular routine. Fix a time, around their school and other activities that they have. make sure they finish the homework and the book work, right? And then and also, let not kids be burnt out. Let's not think that what they're doing is just a big burden on them. It's a massive headache for them. They need to love. If you like something, the chances of you doing better improve significantly, right? So show them the benefit of, or help tell them, walk them through, dangle some carrots, right? Whether it is PlayStation, Xbox, whatever that is, right? That carrot gets their attention. Do that, all right? Sudash, for example, wants his parents to take him to what was that? I forget now. Florida, I think that was right, Dash? Okay, so that probably will leave a hole in their dad's pocket, the mom's pocket. I don't know, it doesn't matter. But show them something, right? Something that they will get on the back of it. Some kids are, naturally kind of keen to do well for themselves. But at this age, some kids need a bit of, something physical, tangible to go after. So show them that. And again, if your child do not do well in a mock exam or in a test, and you get a report and you see your child in red, amber, whatever, again, we need to deal with those situations constructively. Okay, so we just need to understand what's happening, what additional help we can together put there. So let's be constructive, let's be positive. As I said, at the end of this process, we want kids who not only get into grammar schools, but also who kind of enjoy life, right? So that is very important. At the end of the day, nothing else matters. You need your kids to be happy. So let's focus on that also. And please do continue to read and build the vocabulary. Don't talk to me. So there's a point there about open communication with Progress Academy Tutor. Don't do that. And then support you. That was a joke, by the way. Please talk to us. So please tell me, if there is anything. Just WhatsApp us, and we'll get back to you. And again, make sure your kids' well-being is taken into account. As I said, key thing is not to pressurize them. They should enjoy what they're doing. If they like, as I'm saying, right, they will put the effort. They will kind of enjoy the journey as much as what they want. They will achieve at the end of it, and be realistic about what schools and what aspirations you can have for your child. And I'll repeat this again. So it's a partnership, right? We need to make sure we all are in this together. We're working with your child. We motivate them. We give them the right information and help they need on a timely basis. Make sure you look at the test results, right? So it comes on WhatsApp, and we can, if you want, I think there is an email also that goes out at the end of mock exams. Take a look at that one and pay attention to any areas where your child hasn't scored well and marked as amber or red. So that's very important. Not for you to tell them off, but to understand, obviously that's an area where we all need to work together. Okay. I'm just not going to talk about this slide, and this also is just pointless. So in terms of the next steps, right? So what you will get a link probably end of this week or next week, depending on when your week starts, where we want you to tell us what schools you're going to be considering for your child. This is not going to be the final list. It's not like you're married to this list at all. This is just for us to get a view of what schools you're going after, and accordingly start to plan what sessions and how do we structure the next couple of months in terms of aligning to those exam boards and the specific type of exams that your child will be taking. So, and if you need help in picking or thinking through this, just let us know. We can jump on a call and discuss that in detail as well. And we would appreciate if you could do that by the 29th of February, which is the last day of this month. And by the way, you will also get a detailed report individually on each of your child by, I think, on 3rd March, if not before, which will talk about this is a very specific report to your child. So it will talk about what your child's strengths are and what areas they need to improve. And equally, it will call out what additional effort we are going to put and what we expect you to do. And the bookwork that I said, I'll come back to it earlier, will be a part of this one. So we're not going to be asking everybody to work through the same set of books or bookwork. It's going to be tailored to where we think your child will benefit the most. Okay, because time is at a premium. They have enough on their plate already. So this is going to be a very specific list of books and the work your child will have to do alongside the homework. So that will come through. And it will also have additional information about the realistic chances where they currently are in terms of the competition or benchmark them against the previous years, right? So where they are and what they need to do. So I think it's really important that you read that. And if you need to discuss anything on there with us, please do so. Yes, and when the report comes, if you see, your child's been marked as amber or red, that's a good indication that you should most certainly fix a time to talk to us and on a one-to-one basis, and then we can go through your queries and what we can do to change the situation. And the key thing is, as parents, you should get involved. You already do that, most of you do. So I don't need to rub that in. So that is pretty much what I wanted to run you through. And I'm going to pick up some questions that have been posted. This is a good chance for you to send me any questions you may have. Somebody's asking, how can you practice OMR? What's OMR? Okay. Let's come back to that question. Should we consider a board of school like IB and A level while choosing the schools? Great question. So depends, right? I think in most cases, I don't think it matters, right? An A level is an A level, as long as it's from a reputed board, it's fine. It doesn't the universities don't distinguish, right? As I said, majority of the kids who apply to these top universities, they all have 4A starts, and they all have 9, 10 um, level 9s in GCSEs. I think you need to think about what your child can do above and beyond, right? So we can also, it doesn't, our journey doesn't have to end once your kids go through to the grammar school. If you want advice and help on, what additional things they should do to stand a better chance of getting to these top universities, talk to us. But specifically to that question, though, I don't think it matters. Okay. So creative writing, yes. So this is where we're asking what exams your child's going to do by 29th. And so creative writing, where needed, will be tailored to specific. For example, creative writing in CSSE is very short, very focused. There are 2 short writings, which is different to some of the other schools where you're expected to write a lot of creative work. So we need to understand what exams and what schools you're applying for, and then we definitely tailor that in. How to help them? I think we discussed that. So somebody's asking, how do we manage time in the exam? We'll talk to your kids about that one, right? So far, all the way until, if you had asked me this question a month, 2 months, 3 months, or last year, I would have said, don't worry about time management, focus on accuracy. I probably will say the same thing, focus on accuracy. But as you see, we're going through these mock exams and, it's all timed now, and your kids are with you. So maybe I should not say this. Typically, we give them 5 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes less than what the real exams will give them, just to push them. So that's going to happen. So Aditya, don't think you can ask for 5 minutes extra. Okay, that's not going to work. So yeah, so Aditya is thinking, should I ask? Yes. Yeah, so that's time management. We'll deal with that. Somebody's asking, we are new here. What is the difference between GL, CSSE, and others? I mean, look, it's just the different exam formats, different boards doing their own exam, right? So GL assessment is, as I said, by far the most widely used examination board. They set the papers. And again, they set different papers to different schools and different counties. CSSC, is another exam board, a consortium rather, specifically focused on grammar schools in Essex. But you do not worry too much about it. We will walk your child and you through all of that. I think the starting point for you to is, depending on where you live or whether you can move or not, work out what's your ideal list of grammar schools. Pick 3, 4, maybe 5, and don't put all your eggs in one basket. And if you are looking to relocate, if you are planning to move closer to the schools that you want to get into, again, please feel free to discuss with us. If there is anything we can do to give you more insight, we are happy to do. But the person who asked that question, I don't think you should worry too much, but we will walk you and your child through what exam formats those are and how they vary. But bear in mind the underlying content, though, the syllabus that your child will be tested on is all covered. Okay, the exam formats that I walked through, they have been the underlying course curriculum, though, they're thorough with. In fact, they probably have been taught more than what some of those schools need. If you take CSSE, for example, they will only do maths and English and a bit of applied reasoning. Whereas if you take the exam in Kent, it's got English, maths, verbal reasoning, spatial reasoning, non-verbal reasoning. But your children have been taught across everything. And but as I said, the focus will now, once we have the list of schools, will start to shift towards the specific exams your children will be taking. And also it's very common. It's probably 80-90% of the children do more than one exam. And I know probably majority of the kids here will do at least GL and one other format, either CSSE or FSCE, one of them. So we'll cover that as we go along. So right, some more questions here. Okay, so this question from Yuan is asking, can we clear the previous options when you're reattempting a test? We can. I mean, technically it's possible. Maybe we can do that. Yeah, we'll do that. That's fine. It's not a problem. It shouldn't be a problem. Next question. We live in Slough. We have 3, 4 grammar schools nearby. Do we need to attend separate exam, or we can write one exam conducted by the Slough? Yeah, it's going to be one exam. So that's one other thing, right? You don't need to individually look at each school in the same. Like if you look at CSSE, for example, you're writing it for 6 or 7 boys' school and similar girls' schools. Same thing with Slough. Same thing with Kent. There's one exam. So there is a consortium. So there is a group of schools who use one exam, and you take it only once. Okay, that's fine. Yes, and there is also somebody's asking about book work, which are topic specific for practicing outside of homework. Good question. As I said, we are going to, when that report comes, your individual child's report on 3rd of March, you will see a list of practice material, additional book work that they should do in the coming months. Somebody's asking, are all the exams paper-based? Yes, they are. They are. Okay, so yeah, you have to attend them in person. Right, and okay, somebody's asking, how do we get one-to-one time to talk to the tutor? That's fine. We typically will have a time set aside. You will get a link where you can book one-to-one meetings. That should happen after you have got your child's report on 3rd March. So yeah, so watch that space. Okay, right. Will there be any topic-wise material to refer? 100%. In fact, one of the things that's going to come from beginning of March, 2nd week maybe, is that you will see topic-wise lessons, online lessons, and with the kind of question, not kind of question, with practice tests to assess their knowledge of that topic will be made available on the portal. Okay, so that is something new which didn't exist before. So we are working through that also. So it should come from second week onwards. And again, what topic you do, it's for you to decide. In some cases, we may insist that your child do a certain topic. In some cases, we will leave it for your judgment, your child's judgment, to decide how much of that content you want to use. So there's a question here about before finalizing in schools, can we have a discussion with a tutor? 100%, absolutely. We are here to be with you, to be your partners. As I said, not just once your kids get into the grammar schools, beyond also. So feel free to WhatsApp us, fix a time, and then we're happy to talk. And somebody's asking, where does the exam happen normally? The exams normally happen obviously in a school, but if you look at the big counties like Kent or Essex, it depends on, they ask you to pick a school closer to you or you want to get to for the exam, right? So imagine you live far away from, for the sake of example, let's take Essex, right? And let's say you live in Ilford, and they ask you when you're applying, when you're registering for the CSSE exam in May, they ask you what school you want to sit the exam in, and they list you all the schools that are that you can choose from in Essex. Like it could be Chelmsford, it could be Colchester, or it could be Southend, whatever. So you can pick one. Right. And yeah, so you get to pick the school that you want to, unless it's a specific school, like if it's Henrietta Barnett for girls, or Queen Elizabeth for boys, then obviously you have to turn up to their school, right? So that's how it is. It's in the school itself. Okay, there's some question about essay writing. We will cover that in the creative writing bit. So OMR is optical mark recognition. Oh, that's OCR. Okay. So sorry, what's the question about OCR? Let me go back up. OCR, yes, so we were discussing this with some of your children this morning, or maybe yesterday. The answer sheets, are rarely marked manually, with the exception of some schools like CSSE, where it's a written exam, as in your English, for example, is all written in sentences. Most of the questions are not multiple choice. They expect you to write your answer. So at least like 1 mark question will be at least a simple sentence. There will be 2-3 mark questions where, you're expected to write 2 or 3 points and, kind of give evidence, explain. So those kind of exams, they're not marked automatically or through OCR. They are manually marked. Okay, and you will see some exams are like CSSE is a good example. Again, even for maths, they expect you to kind of write the answer in a particular answer box, which is part of your question paper. So it really depends on the exam, but majority, if you look at Kent and most of the GA exams, in fact, they are automatically marked by the computer. So we'll kind of walk you through your child. And when we come to the in-person mock exams, we spend most of our time explaining what they shouldn't do on the answer sheet. So I don't know if that answered your question. Let me go back to the question at the top. How can you practice OCR? Okay, yeah. So now we'll do this. And in fact, some of the online mock exams that we're going to do, we may ask your child to mark it on a sheet that we send you in advance, just the answer sheet, and send it back to us so that we can give them feedback on what they have done well and on what they shouldn't have done. All right, essay writing we talked about. I think there's only one last question remaining, which is, are the exam dates different for in-catchment and out-of-catchment students? Possibly. Some Yeah, no, I think I've seen the dates to be different in some cases. In some cases, no. In majority of the cases, no. I think there are one or two areas where they do that. Can't remember on top of my head, was it Bexley or Buckinghamshire? Maybe both. One of them at least do different dates for in catchment and out of catchment students. So yeah, but majority of them, they don't distinguish. So Rayan, when will be the mock exam? Face-to-face mock exam. As I said, I think it's going to be May, June, July. I think that we're planning to increase the number of in-person mock exams we do. We typically do 2 or 3. This year we may add another location depending on what works for everybody. So we'll let you know. But yeah, the one in Ilford is guaranteed. So I think there are 2 planned for Ilford, maybe 2 in another location. We'll let you know that. Okay, I think that is all the questions we have, and obviously we want to keep this session generic in terms of um, uh, what you should do and what's coming your way. Once you get your child's individual report, I suggest you book a time so where we can tailor this discussion specific to you and see what additional things we can discuss. Okay. If there's another question just come up, we missed most of the meeting, couldn't. Okay, we have the information any other way. I'll send you the slide deck. In fact, I don't know if this is being recorded. If it is recorded, I will send the recording to you after the call. I think it's being recorded. Okay, it is being recorded. So I'll send that over to you. Should I print the past papers? The one we send you, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, feel free. I mean, look, I mean, if you want to print some of the contents on the portal, feel free, but do not distribute that, right? Do not give out. Some of them is obviously copyrighted. Some of them is our own work. Even those are copyrighted for a good reason. And yeah, so feel free to do that. But yeah, do not distribute, do not hand it out to other people that shouldn't have it. Okay. All right. Can we get the PDF of the mock test? And unfortunately, no, we can't do that. We may have the practice dev material that I was talking about, exam specific ones, those will be files which you can print and practice. The mock exams, unfortunately, we can't do that. But you can always print it yourself, Mom. What you can do is when you get to the last question and you're about to submit, it gives you a list of all the questions with options and your selections. So you can print it and say print it as a PDF. Okay, you can do that. But if you need help, let me know. We can send you how to do that. But key thing, please do not distribute stuff. If we figure that those questions are being posted and distributed, then unfortunately we'll have to cut down on what we can and what we can't do on the portal. So hopefully we didn't have to do that in the past years, and I don't expect that to change. All right, I think that's all the questions. Parents and kids, thank you very much for your time, patience, and if you do have any questions, just WhatsApp us and we'll come back to you. And take care and see you again. Bye-bye. Well past 7:30, so let's make a start.